My coworker put urine in my water bottle out of jealousy. Over. Now my company is panicking, and I'm left dealing with the fallout. I've had a lot of strange days at work, but nothing, absolutely nothing, could have prepared me for what happened on Monday. It started like any other day. I was in the office around lunchtime, sitting at my desk, going through some reports when I grabbed my water bottle to take a sip. I didn't think twice about it. I've always kept my water nearby, and on a busy day like this one, it was second nature to reach for it without a thought. The second the water hit my tongue, though, I gagged. I can't fully describe it in words that do justice to the shock of the moment, but if you've ever caught even the faintest whiff of urine, you'll know the unmistakable, acrid, sour taste that flooded my mouth. It was instant, revolting, and deeply confusing all at once. My brain couldn't process what had just happened fast enough. For a second, I thought maybe I was overreacting. Maybe the water had just gone stale? Maybe there was something wrong with the bottle itself? But instinctively, I knew something was off. Way off. I immediately called over a couple of my coworkers who were nearby and asked them to smell the water. It felt ridiculous to even say out loud, but I needed to know I wasn't losing my mind. They each gave it a cautious sniff. One recoiled instantly, her eyes wide and disgusted. Another took a slower breath and looked at me with genuine horror. Two of them confirmed it without hesitation. That smells exactly like urine. I was in shock. My mind raced a million miles a minute. How could this happen? Who would do this? Was it an accident? Was it intentional? I felt sick to my stomach and completely unsure what to do next. And on top of it all, there was an even weirder, nagging thought in the back of my head. Was this connected to the coworker who had been acting out recently? You see, in the weeks leading up to this, one of my coworkers had become increasingly volatile. She was frustrated with management, convinced she was being mistreated and underpaid, and she made no secret of how angry she was about it. I tried to stay out of it. Honestly, I didn't have much of a relationship with her beyond polite workplace interactions. But I am up for a promotion, one I had worked hard for, and it was no secret that she resented that. Coincidentally or not, later that same day, the same day as the water incident, she was fired. It was technically for unrelated reasons. There had been a string of thefts recently at work, and she was caught. Her firing caused an absolute scene. She didn't go quietly. There was yelling, accusations, and a lot of commotion as security escorted her out. At the time, I didn't connect it directly to what had happened with my water bottle, but the coincidence was hard to ignore. I didn't immediately go to HR about the water. Partly because I was in shock and partly because I just didn't know what I was even reporting. What could I say? I think someone peed in my water bottle? It sounded insane. But one of the coworkers who had smelled it, the one who was visibly shaken, did go to HR that afternoon after I left. She was that disturbed by what she had smelled. When I came into work the next morning, it was like walking into a tornado. The drama had exploded overnight. Everyone was talking about what had happened, and suddenly I realized this wasn't just some weird, isolated event. Something serious had gone down, and I needed to get ahead of it. I went straight to HR myself and reported everything. The water, the coworkers who confirmed the smell, my suspicions, the timing of it all. Unfortunately, HR has been less than cooperative. They won't show me the security footage. They've been cagey and vague in their responses, saying they're investigating but offering no clarity or resolution. I've been left in limbo, not knowing whether the cameras even captured anything, whether she's being held accountable, or whether anything will come of my report at all. After a few days of stewing over it and talking to trusted friends and family, I made a decision. I'm filing a police report. What happened was a deliberate, disgusting act meant to intimidate, harass, or harm me. Whether out of jealousy over my promotion or pure malice, I can't let it slide. The police are scheduled to come to my workplace on Monday. Thankfully, I still have the water bottle. I've kept it sealed and locked in a cabinet since that day. It hasn't left the building. And the security cameras, whether HR shows them to me or not, will confirm that fact. On top of that, my workplace itself is pressing charges against her for the unrelated thefts that led to her firing. So it seems both civil and criminal cases are piling up against her. I won't lie, this whole situation has left me shaken. I keep replaying the moment over and over in my head, wondering why someone would go that far. I keep trying to rationalize it, tell myself that maybe she's dealing with something deeper, something mental or emotional that drove her to lash out in such an extreme, revolting way. I do feel sorry for her, in a way. I don't believe someone does something like this unless there's something seriously wrong inside. But at the end of the day, I did nothing to deserve it. I worked hard, kept to myself, and stayed professional. And no amount of empathy for her struggles excuses her actions. I'm pressing charges because I have to protect myself, and because actions like this need consequences. I still don't know what the outcome will be. But I do know one thing for sure. I'll never leave my water bottle unattended at work again. If you're wondering how I know it was her, how I'm so confident, let me lay it all out clearly. My workplace is big, sure. We have hundreds of employees across different departments and floors. But where I work specifically is a small, secure studio space tucked inside that big building. It's not the type of place just anyone can wander into. Our studio houses sensitive, expensive equipment, the kind of stuff where even the smallest accident could cost the company thousands. Because of that, access is tightly controlled. Less than 10 of us have keys that unlock the studio doors. And when I say doors, I mean there are 3 locked doors you have to pass through to get in. Same key works for all 3, but still, only a handful of people can even get close to my desk and belongings. Now, here's the timeline that matters. Thursday, before the long weekend, all of us studio employees left together around 4 p.m. Friday was Good Friday and the whole company was closed. That means nobody was scheduled to be in the building. I didn't come back to the office until Monday morning, bright and early, like I always do. I was the first and only person there, as usual. I had been there all morning before I took that sip of water around lunchtime, so I know that whatever happened to my bottle, it didn't happen on Monday morning. That narrows the window to sometime between Thursday at 4 p.m. and Monday morning when I arrived. I can also tell you with absolute certainty that this particular coworker stayed late on Thursday. A colleague who shares a cubicle area with her told me she was still in the building at 6:30 p.m. that day, 2.5 hours after we all left together. And I know from working alongside her that she has a habit of going into the studio after hours, when nobody else is around. I've seen her do it before. And here's another crucial fact. In our entire building, there are only 2 places without security cameras, inside the kitchen and inside the studio. Everywhere else, walls and walls of CCTV. So, if anyone stayed late, those cameras in the hallways and entrances would have recorded who went in and out. I don't need to see the footage to know that it would show her being the only person accessing the studio after we all left. It couldn't have been anyone else. On top of all that, remember, this woman was fired later that same day for unrelated theft charges. And her departure? It wasn't quiet. It was loud, dramatic, and unhinged. She screamed, slammed things, accused everyone of conspiring against her. She made it extremely clear that she felt wronged by the company and by people like me, who she believed had gotten ahead of her unfairly. Combine that with the bizarre things she was already being accused of, which I won't even get into here because they're equally nuts, and yeah, it's obvious. No one else had cause, opportunity, or motive. Here's where it gets even more frustrating. The security team does have the CCTV footage. It exists. But they won't show it to me. HR keeps dodging my questions, giving me vague non-answers about how they're investigating and gathering evidence for the theft charges against her. Every time I ask about my case, they change the subject or tell me to wait a little longer. They say they're handling it. I even found out just yesterday that nobody has even requested to view the footage yet. After all this time, after I came forward and after my coworker reported it, they've been sitting on it, pretending to be busy gathering evidence when nothing has been done. They told me the police had been called on Friday and again Monday, but no officer ever showed up. The loss prevention guy said the police told him they were extremely busy. That's all I got. Just brush-offs and stall tactics. Finally, I snapped. I'd had enough. I sat down at my desk and typed out one of the most scathing, brutally honest emails of my professional life. I sent it to the VP of HR and both of my supervisors. In it, I detailed every misstep they had made in handling the situation. I laid out how unacceptable it was that I'd been kept in the dark, brushed off, and left unprotected while dealing with something as serious and disgusting as someone tampering with my drink. I reminded them that this wasn't some minor workplace spat. This was a deliberate act of harassment and biohazard contamination. I ended that email with a clear statement. If I do not receive confirmation of police involvement by 2 p.m. today, I will be calling them myself. I wasn't bluffing either. My trust in my employer's ability, or willingness, to handle this was gone. I still have the water bottle, sealed and locked up safely. I made sure it's been untouched since that day, because it's evidence. The water still smells rancid and foul. No one who sniffs it for even a second would doubt that something's been put inside. Thankfully, the company has at least agreed to cover the costs of testing the liquid and to provide therapy or other support if needed. Small victories, I guess. But honestly, it shouldn't have come to this. I don't know exactly what's going to happen when the police finally get involved. I don't know if she'll be arrested, charged, or just questioned. But at this point, I'm prepared to press forward no matter what. I want a record of what happened. I want accountability. And more than anything, I want peace of mind that something this disgusting and violating can't happen again without consequences. Monday is coming, and so are the police. Whatever happens next, I'm ready. By the time Monday afternoon rolled around, I'd had enough of the waiting, the runaround, and the vague assurances from my workplace. HR kept telling me they were collecting evidence and in contact with authorities, but nothing tangible was happening. Security told me the police were called, but no officer ever showed. I couldn't sit with it anymore, not after what had happened. I needed someone to take this seriously, so I took matters into my own hands. I dialed the non-emergency police line. I'd rehearsed what I'd say in my head a dozen times by then, but when the woman on the other end of the phone answered, it all tumbled out in one breath. I'm calling because I believe one of my coworkers tampered with my drink at work. I think they put urine in it. I've preserved the evidence, but my employer hasn't been helpful, and I don't know what to do. There was a pause. Then her voice sharpened noticeably. Okay, I'm going to put you through to emergency dispatch. Please stay on the line. I didn't even argue. Within seconds, I was transferred to 911, and less than 2 minutes later, 2 uniformed officers were walking through the front doors of my workplace. I remember standing in the lobby, my heart pounding, unsure whether to feel relieved or more anxious that it had escalated so quickly. When I met the officer and began explaining everything, how I'd tasted something foul in my water bottle, how it unmistakably resembled urine, how I suspected a particular coworker, and why, I could see the skepticism on his face. His expression was tight, brows knit, lips pursed. He gave me one of those polite but doubtful nods and said carefully, I don't know. I don't think we can do much here. You could always test it yourself if you're that concerned. I shook my head firmly. I don't want to take it out of the building. If I do, anyone could accuse me of tampering with it myself. That's why I need you to see it as it is. The officer scratched the back of his head and admitted he wasn't sure of the right procedure here. He stepped away and called his supervisor for guidance. When he came back out, I didn't waste time. Please, I said, come with me. Let's go look at the bottle together. We walked together to the locked cabinet where I'd secured the bottle. I opened it, carefully removed the container, and handed it to him. He cautiously unscrewed the lid, leaned in, and recoiled immediately, gagging. His reaction was instant and visceral. His face twisted with disgust, and he staggered back a step, covering his mouth. His skepticism vanished in that second. Without another word, he left again to write a full report and make additional phone calls. When he returned, his tone was completely different, clipped, serious, professional. This is officially classified as a Class 1 felony, assault by bodily fluid. We're pressing charges. You don't have a choice in this matter. CSI is en route to collect evidence. I felt a rush of relief, but also a sinking realization of how big this had become. I wasn't imagining things. I wasn't overreacting. What happened to me was a crime. The CSI technician arrived shortly after. She was quiet, methodical, and didn't make much small talk, but her body language told me enough. When she examined the bottle and caught the scent, her nostrils flared slightly, and her lips pressed into a thin line. She didn't say the word, but she knew. She dusted the bottle for fingerprints, but didn't recover anything useful. Either only my own prints were present or the surface hadn't held a viable print. She then took meticulous swabs from the mouth area of the bottle, as well as from the liquid inside. After that, she took photographs of me, documenting everything carefully, and swabbed the inside of my mouth for comparison. Before she left, she gently recommended I visit a doctor to be tested for communicable diseases, a thought that hadn't even crossed my mind until that moment, and it left me feeling hollow and sick all over again. The officers explained that lab testing on the samples would take 1 to 3 weeks, and a detective would be assigned to my case shortly to follow up. Meanwhile, my workplace was imploding. HR, legal, security, they were all scrambling, clearly realizing how badly they'd mishandled everything. I saw closed-door meetings, hushed conversations, and frantic phone calls. The same people who had been dismissive and evasive just days before were now visibly panicked, trying to do damage control. But honestly, it was too late. They'd had chances to step up and do the right thing. They hadn't. And now the situation was out of their hands. I'm not someone who's quick to jump into lawsuits or legal threats, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't realize in that moment I probably had a case. The negligence, the mishandling, the emotional distress, it was all piling up. Still, I wasn't interested in that right now. I wasn't motivated by revenge or money. Mostly, I was just deeply, deeply disappointed. Disappointed in people I thought I could trust. Disappointed in a company I'd given years of hard work to. And underneath all of that, I was anxious. Because if this coworker was unhinged enough to contaminate my drink over something as simple as a promotion, how was she going to react to felony charges? What else was she capable of? I hated that I had to ask myself that question, but here I was. I don't know what's going to happen with that promotion now. Honestly, it feels like the least of my worries. Right now, all I know is I refuse to stay quiet. I refuse to let this get swept under the rug. I stood up for myself, and whatever happens next, at least I'll know I did that much.